Well, hey, you're watching What Was That About? Thank you for joining us for today's episode. My name is Moses Khan. I'm with Dr. Tony Saldano, who is the lead pastor here at All People's Church. How you doing, Pastor?
Good afternoon.
I felt like I did that intro so fast. I was like,
I still don't think you got my name right, but anyway, it's okay. I'm okay.
Saldano.
Yeah, that's better.
Wow. Maybe I said it. Maybe I was too fast.
Maybe you need to get used to that name. Anyway, we digress.
All right. Hey, listen, 2023 is almost over. We are in the last month of the year.
Wow, what a year.
Was it a good year for you?
Yeah, I think it was a good year. You
Yeah.
know, I think every year has some good, some bad, and some ugly.
That is true.
And that is a famous movie. I don't know, that's before your
Clint
time. but-
Eastwood.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I think every year has good, bad, and ugly in it.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Now, here's what's interesting about years is people mark years usually by major events. And one of the things I've actually made a practice of is to highlight key things within the year. Because sometimes I've thought of years as being particularly negative. But when I actually did a bit of a survey of the year, some incredible things happened within the year that completely turned my opinion and perspective around that particular year.
I like that because I don't think a lot of times we actually remember the significant moments, and sometimes they're big and sometimes they're small. We actually don't remember it. It kind of, at the end of the year, the whole year kind of becomes a blur.
Yeah. No, I think you have to have celebrations. I mean, we do it as a ministry where, our producer here will do videos and we call them recap videos. And then all of a sudden you're watching and going, hey, that's right, that happened. Or so-and-so came and that was a big event. And you're right, people forget. I think it's important that we acknowledge and that we celebrate those moments.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I think it's you know what, I really believe it's a leadership practice that leaders should put in place and then celebrate that and bring attention to that with their teams, because we're so quick to jump to the next thing. And people, I believe, need some time to reflect on, hey, this occurred and this was worth honoring, celebrating God even in the moment. I think that's important.
Yeah. No, that's well said. Now, as the year ends and the new year is coming, 2024, we're going to have to get used to saying that and writing that. People are thinking about New Year's resolutions, goals for the next year.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, what should our perspective, especially as leaders, what should our perspective be as the year ends and a new year is beginning?
Right. So a lot of people focus on the new year, great expectations, great ideas, a lot of bravado of what they're going to change and what's going to be different. And the reality is, Pastor Moses, nothing changes because the calendar changes. Unless you have a real distinct intentional plan that is going to be put into place.
Yeah.
Your resolution, which I think is junk, is going to last about 2-3 weeks. This is where gyms make their money.
Right.
All the equipment gets sold in January, and by Feb you're back to eating cake. So resolutions don't work. Particularly, can I say this? Because I believe we don't end the year off right.
Okay.
Therefore, it's very difficult to introduce.
New ways.
So
what is that? What does ending the year off right mean?
Well, I think there's some things that we need to do. We already talked about assessing the year, so doing a survey of the year. I think that's important. The other thing that I would suggest, I don't know what your thoughts about this are, is I really believe you have to bring certain things to closure. Whether they are relationship oriented, maybe they're offense oriented. There are things that eat away at our thoughts, our energy, our emotions that many times we just procrastinate on. We just allow them to kind of linger there. They keep us awake at night. Maybe they even upset our eating patterns. And a lot of times, people just do not bring things to closure. And by the way, for me personally, even when I check something off the list, if you will, there's something empowering about that. There's something powerful, particularly if it's something that's been gnawing away at you that, I dealt with that. It's no longer an issue. So I say to people, whatever is in the power of your control, then bring that thing to closure. Is it an email? Is it a phone call? Is it something that requires follow-up? Is it something that requires, future action? But when you wrestle that thing, when you wrestle that alligator and you win, it is so satisfying.
Yeah. Canceling that subscription you never use.
And you could save money.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How many of those are you speaking from experience?
100%.
There you have it.
While you're talking, I'm just thinking of the word baggage.
Baggage.
The word baggage is coming to mind. And I think that's a good practice to get rid of the clutter, get rid of any baggage, loose ends, we can call them, before stepping into the new year. The equivalent of, stepping into a clean room, for instance. It just feels different. You can do better things. You can be more productive when you're not bringing in this, the leftover baggage of last year into the new year.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting as you were saying that in the Bible, because even when we speak about leadership, we're going to come from the greatest leader, which is God, right? There's always this theme throughout the Bible of leaving things behind, moving forward. But it's not just a matter of, leave it behind, as in leave it in the past, but deal with those things. Deal with, because you can leave things behind, but if they're still going to eat away at you.
Right, they're not dealt with,
They're not dealt with.
For sure.
That's not what we're talking about. When we talk about leave it behind or this baggage, and there's a scripture, I'm pretty sure, when David goes to the battle, the battle of David and Goliath, I'm pretty sure there's a little scripture there that talks about he left some things with the bags. He left something. I'll have to find it, but there's a reference to that something was left with the bags. Blind Bartimaeus, Pastor Moses, when he got healed, he left his identification garment behind and followed Jesus. So leave it behind. Get things done. Close them off. There's a great book, by the way, called Eat That Frog.
Okay.
And it's all about eating the nastiest frogs first thing in the morning. That's what leaders do. When you're the freshest, when you're, when you're the most clear-minded, you eat the ugliest, nastiest frogs.
Right.
Eat That Frog. Good book to get.
Wow. So like the biggest and maybe the difficult thing that you want to put aside, deal with it first.
It's all about killing procrastination.
That's really good.
Kill procrastination.
Yeah, that's really good. And so I think that's good. And then I think one of the things that we were talking about really, even before we started recording, was this idea of finishing strong. And so that's, one of the things that you're mentioning here is, hey, make sure you have closure. That's one way to finish strong. Is there any other things that you would mention?
Well, I love the scripture here where Paul talks about this idea of pressing forward in the book of Philippians, where he says, I don't count myself to have apprehended, but one thing I do. He says, forgetting those things which are behind, right? Then he says, and reaching forward to the things that are ahead of me. One thing. Here's a clue. We create all these lists of things that we're going to do, and then the list overwhelms us. My question would be to people, if they are assessing and self-reflection, self-awareness, right, which we've talked about this, what would be the one thing? What would be the one thing that you could do today? The one thing that you could do today that would make the greatest difference. What do we have left? A few weeks left before the new year. So 2023, without creating a list of 10, 15 things, never mind that. What's the one thing that you could leave behind in 2023, dealt with, closed, that would set you up to press forward? See, a lot of people are already pressing forward, but look at the sequential order. Paul said, I leave this behind. This is the one thing I do. I leave and I forget because I've dealt with it. And now I have this fresh start. Now I can truly press forward. Because some things, spiritually speaking,
Yeah.
Unless they are dealt with, you cannot press forward.
Right. Yeah, you won't see any progress. You won't see any growth because you have not dealt with those things that are holding you back, that are maybe strongholds, that are, and sins that are undealt, maybe unforgiveness, all sorts of things for sure. But I love that. Do not get overwhelmed by the list of 10 or 20 things that you would like to do. What is the one thing that's so practical that it's doable? And I like that because that's a good way to create momentum as you step into the new year. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other thing I would say, as we kind of land this plane here, is what are you about to embrace, right? Mm-hmm. What are you about to embrace in the new year that you're going to make part of your daily routine? So there's 5 things that I like to do, daily. One of them is leadership. I always want to lead, particularly this year. My theme has been be fruitful and multiply. Every day I'm going to try and be fruitful and multiply. I try to write every day.
Yeah.
Obviously, abide with God.
Right.
Every day. These are some of the things that I personally have said to myself. These are the dailies. I'm creating new ones for 2023. By the way, some will move forward. Yeah. Some will stay. But if it's not connected to the daily, that's why resolutions don't work. That's why people have great intentions that go nowhere because it's not connected to your daily routine.
Yeah.
So even the one thing that we talked about,
right,
is that connected? And by the way, when we say bring things to closure, that might be more than a one-time event. Like a subscription is, I make a call, boom,
right,
I cancel it. By the way, I had a subscription end on me yesterday, which I need to renew. So you reminded me of that. So that's a good point. Some things you have to cancel, and maybe that makes room, budget-wise, for some of the new things
that's good
that I want to embrace. Right.
That's really good.
Now you made a comment. I don't know. I don't want to preach here, but you were looking at my iPad. You're like, you haven't updated your iPad, and that's going to change. That in itself. So if we're bringing some things to closure, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about updating some things in life?
Well, for sure. I think getting rid of the old requires you to do new things, and so there are certain places you can't go. I don't think in terms of even your iPad. You can think about the apps that begin to slow down, and so apps need to be updated once the iOS gets updated. And so I think in life, you have to put new things in place. What are the improvements I'm going to make? What are the additions I'm going to add to my life that are going to help me in the things that I want to do and the person I want to become?
Yeah. There's a certain excitement about new things.
Yeah.
Like
for sure.
And I think that's what's important about the new year. And by the way, setting things up, like all of a sudden, something as simple as updating your iPad, you're like, okay, I want to go see, I want to go see what they did.
What's new? Yeah.
Even if it looks a little bit different, even going to the gym when they move equipment around, not even it's new equipment, they just move it around. You're like, wait, what's happened here? There's
something new.
My family will tell you I love to move furniture around because it just gives the room a fresh new look. Yeah. By the way, just some fresh paint, something new.
Yeah.
Something new. Getting rid of the old, something new. I'm telling you, will add momentum, will add excitement.
Yeah.
And make it, I believe, a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. Because you want something that's tangible, that tells you, hey, this is a new shift. This is a new season. This is a new year.
Right.
And so that is definitely a tool that is helpful and can aid us in that journey.
And even God says that, behold, I'm doing a new thing. So even God does new things.
Exactly. Yeah. So good. Well, hey, listen, thank you for joining us for today's episode. I hope you were encouraged, and I hope you begin to even put that one thing that you need to do into practice as you wrap up this year, 2023. And our prayer is you move into the new year with momentum, with growth, and with all the good things that God has in store for you. Pastor, thank you for these principles. They're so good.
Thank you, sir.
Well, we'll see you next time. God bless.